Hey there, hi there, ho there. We're as happy as can be, talking baseball. Another week, 3-ball walk. Eddie, Bob, Julio,
Our live studio audience.
and our live studio audience.
Hey, looks like the same one from last week. We like those guys.
Kind of
And they're excited to be here.
Wow.
So, baseball, another week.
Yep.
College baseball wrapping up.
Wrap it up.
Final weekend of the regular season.
The Braves are no longer in last place.
No, they're 4-6 in the last 10 games. But you know what? The Phillies and Marlins are playing worse.
Worse.
So that's
Third.
and Mike Trout is still the best player in baseball.
Yep, I would say so. Yep.
Eddie.
Maybe.
Although you got to get excited about Aaron Judge. It's
You got to
fun.
get
It's fun.
excited. I
It's
totally
fun.
agree.
Well, Aaron Judge is a young guy. He hadn't done it.
You know,
He hadn't done it over the long
fun.
haul. But I'm thinking of Bryce Harper maybe. He's
See,
he's tearing it up.
I'll tell
He's
you
having
the,
a
the,
great
the interesting
season
thing
right
about Bryce Harper, and
If he can stay healthy.
5 years ago, that was the talk. Bryce Harper, there were the Bryce Harper
Right.
camp. There's the Mike Trout camp.
Yep.
Statistically, what Mike Trout has done in the first 4 or 5 years, no one's ever done in history. And I think consistency and everything like that. And that's why I say and I don't even want to say arguably. I mean, if you really look at it, Mike Trout's probably the best player in baseball. But, and you bring up the point that I wanted to bring up, is who's the second best? And I think, in my opinion, Bryce Harper's now starting to take control of that.
maybe Bryant too. I mean,
1 year.
Oh, it's 1 year. That's what I mean. It's only 1 year. You got to wait and see how it comes up. But you're asking me if I was a GM and I had to start a franchise and I couldn't take Mike Trout, who would I take as my next pick? I would take Bryant as my next pick over Harper
Wow.
Because he's younger?
because he's younger and because I think he's going to develop better than Harper did.
It's interesting.
But if you ask me if I had to play today for a championship, who would I want at bat? I'd take Harper over Bryant.
Yeah.
Let me throw a monkey wrench because, he only plays every 5 days and whatever. Where do you put Clayton Kershaw in that?
Well, you didn't ask. I mean, I didn't think we were asking about pitchers.
No, I'm just
so.
saying the best player in baseball.
I don't think he's the best player in baseball. Again, I can't.
No,
I'm not going to give a pitcher the second best player in baseball because he only pitches once every 5 days. I'm just sorry. I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's fair to the guys who have to go out and play every day and perform every day.
And you wouldn't give it to a DH, I guess, either.
No,
right?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't give it to a DH either because he doesn't play in the field. You're not going to build your team around a DH. He's going to bat and he's going to come in and sit. So, I mean, that's just my take on the question that you were asking. Now, if you ask me who's the best pitcher in baseball, I'd take Kershaw.
No, Arrieta, but
No.
you peak and you drop, and you peak, and this guy peaks over here and he drops, and Kershaw's
Just
every year.
He's staying right up there. And Scherzer would be another one that you'd probably want to, you'd have to
Yeah.
entertain, but I'd still
and
take
Greinke.
that one.
Greinke's having a great year. I mean,
And we see if he comes
Greinke
back.
is having a great year,
Yeah.
but his better years are behind him.
they're behind him. Yes.
Again, is if you're building a team, or are you playing? You're going to give me a fantasy draft.
How old
for
is Kershaw?
this weekend?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how old he is.
I will check.
I still would take him if I've got to build for the next 5 years. I think he's still going to pitch 5
Without
years.
it, I totally agree with you.
But if you're talking long term, I'm not going to give him an A-Rod deal.
No. Yeah, no.
I'm not going to be paying. I'm not going to be paying him when he's sitting on some
A
island in Bora Bora.
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, I'm not going to give that deal. You got to write $1 million a year.
29.
29, not even 30 yet.
No.
Right, but in today's, as hard as he throws, and with today's pitching,
35.
35, you're thinking you're not going to make it past 35 because, again, unless he changes. Now, maybe he gets to a point where his velocity comes down and he has to pitch more and he really starts to work the ball in and out and around and up and down, and he does a Maddox and pitches later into his career because he can pitch different.
What do you think? We talked about this before a couple weeks ago with max effort guys. How do you think max effort? You have a guy who puts up maybe 5 great years, and of course Sandy Koufax is the first guy you think about with something like that. But how does that affect them as far as the Hall of Fame down the road? Do you think it's different than if you have a guy like Maddox who pitches or Glavine consistently great forever? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I think the Hall of Fame numbers may have to change because in the way that we pitch today and the way managers manage today, it's a little different for starting pitchers. Who there may not be very many pitchers that get to 300 wins.
I'd be surprised. I really will.
So does the number drop to 200, and then then you take a guy who goes 20-5 for 10 years, and he has 200 wins instead of 300, or you take a guy who pitches for 10 years and wins 20 games, or 15 years and wins 10 games.
Well, I think the big thing there is you pitch 10 years and you won 200 games. Where does that compare? And I think the big thing you said, without realizing you said it, is in those 10 years and winning 200 games, did you only lose 50?
Exactly.
If you only lost 50 and won 200,
That's
then hey, that's an amazing. That's
Well, but
all
also let me
career.
throw this out. So let's say you play on a team that's a 500 team, and you only win 15 games a year.
You're not going to be in the Hall
So
of
at
Fame,
150, but
unfortunately.
but you're 15-5 every year
Well, again,
because your bullpen loses
When did-
4 or 5 games a year for you that you could have been 20-5.
when he was a 200, 220, even though he had 2,500 strikeouts, Nolan Ryan wasn't a Hall of Famer. Nolan Ryan
A lot
did
of
not
people
become.
thought that's
How could
exactly
you
right.
not say Nolan Ryan was a Hall of Famer?
No, a lot of
7
people said he wasn't.
no-hitters.
But that's
Because he
before
didn't
got
have
there.
the
He didn't have
7
it
no
there.
hitters at the time.
Oh.
Nolan
Yeah, before he
Ryan,
got there.
the number of games Nolan Ryan won in his 40s. When Nolan Ryan was 35, he was not a Hall of
No.
Famer.
No.
And he had won, and he had ERA titles and whatever, and it just wasn't there.
Because he was playing on bad teams?
The Mets won the World Series. The Angels were a very bad team.
The Angels weren't great, and then he went to Texas. They didn't win a championship. I mean, think about that for
No,
a second. He won one
but-
championship in 1969.
But it was the longevity. So, yes, there's certain people, Sandy Koufax you bring up and whatever, there's some that will sit there and you can say, hey, those 10 years were phenomenal.
Let's say Clayton Kershaw decides next year to hang it up.
Right. Which is what Koufax did at 30.
So at 30 years old, he decides he's out.
He's a Hall of Famer.
So is he a Hall of Famer?
He's won 3 Cy Youngs.
I think he is.
Okay. So then it's not the number of wins that gets you in the Hall of Fame.
No, that's
No,
the
that's what I
point.
said. It's the fact that if you look, and you got him right there just his age, you got his
29.
record. I want to know how many games he's lost in his career.
So
Look
your
at these-
studio audience should be looking this up for us.
What about other numbers? What about other?
There are other numbers.
What about hitting? If you're the best hitter,
Baumgartner can get in.
Currently, Kershaw's 130.
You're not
no, I'm not talking about
Currently,
pitching.
Oh, okay.
Not
he's
talking about
132 and 62 right now.
132 and 62. That's
66%.
He needs a few, but he needs a few more years then. He needs to get to at least 150, 160.
I think Koufax won about 165 games in his career.
How many did he lose?
I'm not sure. If you'll pardon. You guys been talking. I'll look
A
this up.
research guy.
Our research guy.
And he
research
lost a
guy.
lot at the beginning, but all of a sudden it was the no hitters. It was this, and there was a 5-year stretch there from 1961 to 65, 66, where he was the no doubt best pitcher.
Right, but again, just because you're the best pitcher 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years, does that get you in the Hall of
Not
Fame?
yet, no.
So, and Kershaw's not in then, clearly would not be in if he got out.
Koufax was 165 and 87 in his career. Okay.
So 2/3.
But from
So
60
Kershaw basically has to go 20 and 20.
from 62 to 66, the 4 years where he was
Yeah,
most
what are these
dominant,
records?
He was for 62. Okay, for 61, he was 18 and 13. 62 was 14 and 7. 63, 25 and 5. 64, 19 and 5. 65, 26 and 8. And 66, he was 27 and 9.
And the
And
ERAs?
81.
Well, and that was
Wow.
a different.
It
Yeah,
was
that was
five straight
pre-60.
ERA titles in a row.
See, now, the ERA might have only been 2 or 2.5, but it was the best in the league compared to everyone else. You got to give that.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to, you are comparing, you're not comparing him to today's ERAs,
But
you're
you-
comparing him to his era's ERAs.
Yeah.
His ERA of the ERA, by the way.
But when you look at an everyday
No
player
pun
like
intended.
Very
Like-
much pun intended.
like Trout, an everyday
Depends how
player
much
like
air
Trout,
he can get on that
I mean,
ball.
if you're going to build a team, wouldn't he be the first guy I'd pick? I mean, you're not going to pick a pitcher first. You're going to pick a player, an everyday player like Trout. I mean, there's a couple guys that, I mean, I'm prejudiced, but I mean, I like Stanton and I love Freddie Freeman, but I'm still picking Trout.
Of course, yeah, you got to pick
No.
him. He's younger.
And
Again, it's what are you picking for? You're picking for building a franchise for the next 5-10 years? Or are you picking a franchise to try to win the series this fall?
And I'll tell you a guy who gets no love, and he hasn't for a long time because of injuries, and he plays in the shadow, is Ryan Zimmerman. I mean, Zimmerman is a really, really good player.
Yeah.
He plays with Bryce Harper.
On a very good team.
On a very
good team.
Yep.
Managed by a very good manager. And we bring that up a lot, but Dusty Baker is
He's
a Hall of
good.
Famer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think
Both
so.
as a player and a manager, I think.
Not as a that's your brave bias. He's not a player Hall
No,
of Fame.
I think he was. I think he was one of the better players of his era.
He was a good player, but
So if
he
you're
was only
if you're measuring again,
stats, Bob.
No,
It's okay.
Bob,
if
we
you're
need
me-
you.
Stats.
if you're measuring players against their era, which is my thing for Hall of Fame, we always have that discussion. I think if you're the best in your era, you ought to be in the Hall
I
of
agree.
Fame.
with that.
If you go from 1970 to 1980, is that the correct era there?
I
He
don't
played a
know.
little longer than that. But
75 to 85?
Yeah, something like that.
I can tell you 15 outfielders that were better than him at the time.
15.
15. That's a lot.
That's a lot. He was pretty solid. I mean, he played on a Dodgers team that was packed. I mean, they were.
Freddie Lynn or Dusty Baker?
Freddie Lynn.
That's
Okay,
hard
Freddie
like
Lynn's
that.
not a Hall of Famer.
No, and he won't be. It's unfortunately because I think Freddie Lynn was a great player, but his career way it faded at the end.
Very.
And I have to say this real quick because we're talking about Nolan Ryan. You got Nolan Ryan, and I've gotten in arguments with people about Koufax being in the Hall of Fame versus someone like Don Sutton in the Hall of Fame. And my whole thing is just because you could hang on till the end, which Ryan didn't hang on. Ryan was still an effective pitcher even up until when he retired.
No, Sutton wasn't a bad pitcher when he was at the end of his career.
Sutton was a good pitcher for a long time.
He learned. He knew
He
how
was
to
never
pitch.
a great pitcher.
That's right. He knew how to pitch, and that's what I'm saying. Guys like Maddox, who you know how to pitch, and they're not going to wow you when you go out there. You're like, how in the world did I go 0 for 4 against that guy?
Mm-hmm.
But you do it often, and a lot of people
But
did.
Maddox is the guy not on a good team. I mean, not on a bad team, only winning 15, 16 games a year. But he
year.
did it every single
But he did it every year.
He was getting pulled.
And you have that. I think you're going to have that with guys who pitch for the Marlins. Who are going to
Complete
lose
games.
Well, who are going to lose games in the end with the bullpen because the bullpen hasn't been strong.
Yeah, they're terrible.
So if you're on a team like that, you get punished because the back end of your bullpen was bad, and you come out in the 7th, which is the way people manage today in the 6th and 7th inning.
Jose should have won 50 games,
Yeah.
and he probably won 32 in his
Right,
career.
right, and that's what I'm talking about. If he
Maybe
lasted,
40.
if he lived on, and he
No.
pitches, and he loses 35 games because the bullpen lost it, that's not his
Well,
fault.
and that happened. That actually, I did a study one time. Of all the 300 game winners, the one that had the most blown saves for him was Nolan Ryan.
I'm sure because he played on bad teams.
Well, it's not only that, it's when you're sitting there throwing 97, 98, and then you bring in the closer that's throwing 94,
Jose was 38 and 17 for his
38. He won 38 games.
So he looks like it looks like the ball's a beach ball after trying to hit a BB.
You know, they got him out of there, and all of a sudden the closer.
Yeah, you almost need to have a knuckleballer following him
As
to
closing
come in
for
and
him.
mess it up. Because you got a guy trying to throw a fastball, he's going to get hammered. Hey, well, we talked a whole lot about stuff. Can't believe it's been almost 15 minutes gone by. We haven't.
I'm still looking up stats.
You're looking up stats.
Oh,
there.
Dusty Baker. Give me Dusty Baker.
Okay, Baker.
300 home runs.
Baker hit. I'll tell you right now. Hit 242 home runs. Drove in over 1,000.
Good player. Hall
Lifetime
of Fame.
batting average of 278.
278 is not bad.
No, he's a good player.
278 is not Hall of Fame numbers.
What does he got to take to get you in the Hall of Fame? You got to hit.
Lou Brock is one of the lowest, and he's 291, but he stole 950 bases.
Had almost 2,000 hits.
Yeah, almost 2,000. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he'll get in the Hall of Fame because
As a
of his
manager,
managing.
yeah.
I mean,
both
outstanding.
and long career in both.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting month. I think as the heat wears on, we'll start seeing some teams fall away. You know, the Giants are still 8.5 back after winning 5 in a row.
Can't believe that.
You're like, wow, how deep a hole?
But the cream is coming to the top. The Astros are on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Cubs are starting to play a little bit better. The Cardinals are doing what the
Yep.
Cardinals do. The Nationals are just probably the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Or the Astros.
Or the Astros.
I mean, you look at that, and eventually the long season starts taking its toll. The Orioles, I want to say, I lost 4 of the last 6, and that's who we were talking about.
Yeah.
But they're only a half game back still.
And then the Yankees are in first. I mean, it's
They had the same week. The last 10 games, they're both 6 and 4.
Yep.
So nobody's
So-
really running away with anything.
No.
I mean, Toronto's 7 and 3. They had the best one in that division. Hey,
Hey, we'll be back in a second, but real quick, and just throw a name out there because he's starting to play like the Angels paid him to play. Albert Pujols is a player.
He's a player. He's a player.
He's a player.
And he's really starting to. I mean, he's starting to
He's
hit the
doing
ball.
what he can. Well, he's
30
healthy.
RBIs now.
He's healthy
Yep.
and whatnot. Hey, thanks for joining us. We will be back. We want to thank our studio audience for making an appearance here
Thank you,
at
studio
Three Ball
audience.
Walk, and we'll be back for part 2 in a second.